Alright, hi there everyone. This is Sam here again for MTGOntario, and this time we're doing another video. It is going to be a limited video, but I'm going to be doing a sealed deck video this time. It's been a long time since we had one of those. Actually, I can't remember the last time I did one. But this is all in preparation for GP Shanghai coming up, so I decided to get one in while I can. So let's take a look at what we have here. The first thing that I do when I do sealed decks is I sort by rares, and it's sort of like a guilty pleasure of mine, just because I want to see what I opened and how lucky I was, and see what I can build around. So I'm just gonna sort by rarity. I got skin thinners, good. Got the Lord of the what's it called? Unreal. That's not bad. Grand Abolisher. It's a bear. And it's not bad. I mean, it'll have a big target point at its head, but I mean, it's definitely playable. Goblin Chieftain's all right. The Garrick's Horde, not a great fan. Ooh, Sorin's Vengeance, that's a great card. That's a nice finisher. So we got pretty much a card in every color, two cards in green. So we got our options open. So I'm going to send these back, and then I'll sort by color again. And then I'm just going to go in order and bring down the cards I think are playable from each color. So I think that's good. That's good. Oh. I'm putting down like the absolutely must plays first, and then there's always some cards that are on the fringe as well. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind. All right, so this is what I've come up with in the short amount of time I had to build this up. There's pretty much a lot of playables in every color. Just going through it, I think that our weakest color is red. It just has a bunch of mediocre creatures. Oops. It just has a bunch of mediocre creatures and pretty much no real removal spells outside of like Combust, which are situational. Albeit in those situations they're very good, but I'm going to cut red right now. It doesn't seem that attractive. Green, the thing attracting me to green is obviously the overrun, and all the creatures are very decent. It's kind of a little bit on the top heavy side of things, but it's got Skin Shifter, Jade Mage, Garrick's Companion early, and even like a pseudo removal spell like Arachnoid. In most cases, it is a removal spell, but yeah, like I like green right now. It looks not too bad, and the black is all right. Like that again, another thing that's attracting me to black is the Sorin's Vengeance. The rest of the cards are sort of mediocre. The creatures aren't that great, but it's got a Doomblade and it's got a Ring Flash and it's got a Grave Digger, so it's all right. So that's something to keep in mind. The blue is pretty attractive with double Mana Wars, and but the problem is and then an Azure Mage as well. But the problem is that the creatures don't really support it that well. It's only got one flyer or two flyers actually, but it's a little bit on the here and there side. I'm a big fan of blue. I think Azure Mage is a really powerful card in this format, and the question is like, is it more powerful than the other cards that we could be playing in another color, for example? So, and also then there's white that has obviously double Oblivion Ring, and then a bunch of decent creatures and Gideon's Lawkeepers. So the white is also pretty decent as well. The problem is it's a little bit on the light side of creatures, I would say, but it's not bad. The thing right now is I think that green is probably the color I want to have as my base, and then figure out what I want to put with it, because Overrun can just win a game so easily. And the fact that I have two great swords and a Manolith to play with here, I could probably easily splash something. So either like a Doomblade or something like that, or not exactly sure where I want to go with this, but yeah, it's quite possible that I could be on either. I think it's probably like a white. Like I probably want to be on the white, splashing a Doomblade and maybe Ring Flesh. The blue is a little bit more of a color commitment, and I don't think like the Lord of the Unreal is actually not a card that does anything for us because it's just a bear, and it actually because we don't actually have any other illusions. I'm just gonna take that out right now. Yeah. The other it basically comes down to, do I want a bunch of like Aether Adepts and an Azure Mage, or do I want other creatures? I think I'm gonna cut the blue here. If I had like a Merfolk Looter or anything like just a little bit more in blue that would push me towards like a decent flyer or two, another decent flyer or two, then I would probably pick up blue easily there. But it is my favorite color to draft in this format. But we're in sealed, so I can't always obviously pick what I want to be playing. In this, well, I mean, if I had to pick a preference though. So now it's between green black or green white. I think that I could probably splash the Gravedigger and the Doomblade. Like the Soren's Thirst is fine. It's a decent removal spell, but I think that on the other side we could be playing green black splashing white for I guess 2 Oblivion Rings, maybe even Gideon's Lockkeepers. But they're not like I'm not that excited about splashing Gideon's Lockkeepers. They're not like they're fine, but the thing I like about Gideon's Lockkeepers, they're pseudo removal spells and they're also creatures for overrun, so you can also play it that way as well. Like sadly, we're not going to be playing with the Sorin's Vengeance. I think if we go this route, but the green white splashing black route. But that's okay considering like I think that like the choice is pretty much to pick up the overrun and go with it. The problem is like the creatures in black. There's a 5-drop, a 4-drop, 1/2-drop, and the rest are just removal spells or sort of like awkward situational spells. Let's see how many creatures I have to work with if I was in the green black. Actually, 14 creatures not too bad. I could work with that. Let's see if I cut it this way. I'd have 18 creatures and a lot more spells. Let's see how this looks. So let's say if I played it like this, I could have that and that and these. So I'd sort it like this. The thing I like about this plan though is that it takes advantage of the Garrick Sword if you ever get to that point, because it has a lot more creatures in the deck. So given that fact, I think this is probably the way I want to build it. However, if I cut the white, then I'm going black. I get a lot more removal and less creatures, which is also fine. Like looking at what white's giving me, it's basically giving me 2 more Gideon's Lockkeepers. I'm probably going to splash Oblivion Rings if I splash that anyways. It gives me a couple of flyers, which are decent, and a couple of like creatures that sort of make their board complicated, or the board situation more complicated for them. It's actually not that much more exciting than the black now that I think about it. But let's let's sort it by color and take out the white. Let's see how that looks. I'm gonna keep the 2 Oblivion Rings in, then put the black back in. So this way, sort these out. Alright, so looking at the deck this way, we have a couple of mediocre features in this deck, like the Drifting Shade, but well, actually, the Drifting Shade's not that mediocre. I'm sorry, I was thinking more along the lines of like Zombie Goliath and Brindlebore. But this way, we have a lot more removal in the deck. We have a Ring Flesh, a Doomblade, a Sorin's Thirst, the Oblivion Rings as we had before, and a Death Mark, which is most likely going to stay in if we stay in black because it pretty much has a good chance of hitting something in every matchup. So it's interesting actually. The only thing is that Overrun isn't very good in this deck because it has less creatures. So I'm just trying to like think about like whether or not I want to maximize Overrun, or if I want to be like a little bit more conservative and play with more removal. Considering I have the Great Swords too, I think that building this deck with more creatures in mind is probably better. Just because I don't want to be running out of creatures and not being able to equip my swords or being able to have like a lethal overrun. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back to the original plan and go with white. Oops. Whoa, craziness. So I'm gonna set that aside. Take that. I'm gonna put the Doomblade and the Gravedigger in. I'm gonna sort this out again. Given the amount of creatures in this, oh wait, the distress shouldn't be here. I think that the Armored Warhorse could come out maybe. Let's see. Like we have the base of our colors are green. Actually, we could definitely take out the Brindle Boar. Oh, that's the Sacred Wolf, not the Brindle Boar. Let's sort these out. I feel like I could probably put Stave Off in the sideboard. It's a very good card, and it's a very good trick. I like to have main deck most of the time, just to deal with their removal spells. And there's a very high chance that there's going to be removal spells for us to hit, but I just don't see myself really needing it because we have so many other cards that we could play at this point. Building this is going to be a little bit complicated just because of the situation with all these like 4-5 drops here. I think I need to cut one of these. I like all of them though. That's the problem. The question is if I need like a greater basilisk or if I need both these stampeding rhinos. I think considering that we want to be on the offensive, I'd rather have the stampeding rhinos than the greater basilisk. Like I like greater basilisk just because it's very useful. I can take down a lot of big creatures. But I think that with the amount of removal that we have, we should be able to deal with most. Like pretty much all our removals could deal with any sized creature as long as it doesn't have hexproof or something like that. So I think that Death Touch is not that necessary, so I can probably cut that guy and trim that down a little bit. And we also have Gideon's Lawkeepers to keep other creatures at bay too, so we should be fine on the removal side. The question is, do I need something like Armored Warhorse? I think that I probably want to cut the Warhorse and keep the Garruk's Companion, as it's obviously the base stats are switched, and Garruk's Companion has Trample, which is doesn't make a big difference, but color-wise, I want to be more base green and then less of the other colors. The Grand Abolisher is still just a card I want to keep there just because it takes out all of their tricks. So if they don't deal with it on their turn, then it's just going to cause a headache for them. So it makes combat for me really easy, obviously. So yeah, let's see. So at the moment, I have 24. I have 24 cards with a Llanowar Elf and a Manolith. I'm questioning whether or not I can get away with 16 lands. I have one 7-drop in my deck, and everything else pretty much approaches 5 otherwise. I think it's possible. Like, I don't feel like I want to trim any more creatures either because I'm at 15. I think I want to keep all my spells. Or maybe I can actually cut the one Greatsword. The Greatsword is good and everything, but it's not amazing. It's not actually a Greatsword. I remember at Pro Tour Nagoya, Brian David Marshall was introducing some of the cards, and then we were talking to him behind the scenes after they finished filming the little web clip for it, and when he was talking about the Greatsword, and we were saying, yeah, that sword's pretty great, right? And nudging him with the pun, and he says, yeah, it's the fine sword, he called it, not the great sword. So maybe the great sword could take a cut. It's either the great sword or the mighty leap, but mighty leaping something like Garruk's Horde can just easily win you the game. So I kind of want to keep the mighty leap in there, also because it's like a decent card against like. Oh, Edwin's trying to trade me. I'm building a deck right now, so I'll tell him in a minute. I'll pause the video for a second. Alright, I decided to just take out one of the great swords right now and try and keep all my tricks in here with my removal spell. We have a lot of things to like occupy our mana with at this point, so we don't need too many things. We don't need more than one great sword, I think. Everything else looks fine, and the plan is just to be very aggressive, very beat down, and just try and get there. The Sacred Wolf, unfortunately, doesn't have too much to go with. It just has a greatsword, but I mean, it's still a 3-power, 3-mana creature with hexproof that can't die very easily, so it'll trade with at least a 3 toughness creature at the worst. And I guess that's not like I guess I can mighty leap it, but it should still be fine, I guess. So I'm gonna sort by color here, and I'll add some lands. Then Moto suggests 6-3-8. That's not right. I'm probably gonna go with 2 swamps since I have mana. This should be okay. And let's go. Can I change this a little bit more? I could get greedy because I have a double white and I have 2 double white cards here. 9-7-2. Can I go down to 1 here? The problem is I definitely need to hit triple green for my overrun and double green on turn 2 for something like Garrick Companion. Otherwise, I don't really have too much of a green obligation early. But the white has Grand Abolisher and Arbalest Elite. I think that having 1 swamp and 1 Manalith should be okay to get my Doomblade and Gravedigger out there. I might regret this. Trying to think. Like the problem is like the color commitment here is so awkward, and I don't want to have to. Alright, I'm gonna try and go for 2 swamps and 6 plains. It's gonna be a little bit sketchy for a couple of the white cards, but I think it'll be okay. Like, let's see, the Arbalest Elite, I don't know if it's actually if I actually even need it in this deck because it's a defensive card. If I were to cut this and put in, let's say, the Brindlebore even's fine. It helps the curve a little bit better. It reduces my color commitments in white, and it keeps me aggressive because you're going to be attacking with the Brindlebore, I guess, because Arbalest Elite's probably going to hold back most of the time. So I guess this works out a little bit better than with this sort of mana configuration. So I'm gonna submit this, and I'll see you back here for round 1.